Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that takes us through Formula One's worst teams, or close enough to worst teams, from 2010 all the way up to, hopefully, the present day. And we're still in 2010 at the moment, race 14 of the season at the Temple of Speed, Monza, driving the Virgin Racing VR01, statistically the worst car in 2010. Finished bottom of the constructor standings in the real world, although wasn't outscored by Lotus and HRT. They did have the worst results on countback, which is why Virgin Racing were classified bottom. No points for either driver, and I think the best result of about 14th, if I remember correctly, for one for each driver. We have surpassed that, and I'll show you what I mean. In the standings, there we are, P9, 6 points behind 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher in the Mercedes, some way off Nico Rosberg, and a little bit ahead of Kubicza's Renault. Last time out in Belgium, we qualified mid-pack and finished in the top 10, scored some more points to add to our tally, after a good qualifying but DNF at Hungary. So it was a weird dichotomy of two different races, but just they were kind of reversed in my head. I thought we'd have a terrible qualifying at Hungary and an all-right race, because it's a tight, twisty, narrow circuit that doesn't really worry you too much if your car's lacking pace, which ours is. And then it was a flip side. I was expecting maybe an all-right quali in Belgium, depending on conditions, and then just falling back in the race. But it all worked out for us in the end. At the top end of the standings, Mark Webber leading the way from his teammate Vettel, with Hamilton, Massa, Alonso, Button and Rosberg all kind of chasing. Although I'd say even Lewis Hamilton's probably a little bit out of it at this point. It really should just be down to the two Red Bulls for the rest of the season. But as you can see, we're ahead of Kubica, Sutil, Petrov, Liuzzi, Alguersuari, Buemi, Hulkenberg, Barrichello, Kobayashi and Della Rosa, who have all scored points. 19 of the 24 drivers have scored points. Those who haven't, both HRTs, both Lotus and the other Virgin Racing of Lucas di Grassi. Although, as I've said a couple of times in this series already, big shout out to Karun Chandok, currently leading the way on countback out of all of those drivers in the other new team cars. Constructors-wise, we're 5th, 2 points ahead of Renault, quite a distance away from Mercedes, but I think 5th now could be our fight. We've got a little gap to Force India and a bigger gap to Toro Rosso. Red Bull, given the Constructors' title now, they're done. Second place is all up for grabs between Ferrari and McLaren, and Mercedes have got 4th kind of wrapped up, while Williams and Sauber are fighting over 9th. HRT and Lotus could, with a decent result, usurp some very big names, but they've not quite managed to manifest points yet. I think the best result for any of them is 12th at Silverstone, with Kovalainen, I want to say. But they are stone dead last, Lotus, which is very different to the real world. The bottom 3 teams were Lotus, HRT, Virgin Racing, in that order. Obviously, HRT kind of maintaining that 11th spot in the Constructors in the game as they did in reality. We're just surpassing Virgin Racing score. 54 points is a decent haul for this car. But I fear we may find ourselves in trouble. Monza, the Temple of Speed, one of the fastest circuits on the calendar. I think the fastest at this point in Formula One. We've got faster since the likes of Jeddah. So this may expose our complete lack of pace. But it could also, on the flip side, be a really, really good race for us. If Belgium's anything to go by, I thought we were going to get absolutely trounced for pace at Spa, and that didn't happen. So fingers crossed Monza can be the same. But let's get into practice, find our way around this iconic track in the 2010 machinery, and talk about the real world 2010 Italian Grand Prix. The 14th round of 2010 saw the teams arrive at the Temple of Speed, with the FIA being the centre of the pre-race news. Not only had the World Motorsport Council just completed their hearing into the Ferrari team orders debacle from back in Germany, the FIA also announced a second increase in the intensity of testing procedures due to accusations that Red Bull and Ferrari had been using flexible bodywork banned at the time The first increase in testing came in Belgium the rain before. The announcement actually led to McLaren admitting they changed the floor on their car to pass increased load-bearing tests, but they weren't penalised, and Ferrari were offered no further penalty for their team orders in Germany. Practice saw many drivers struggling with their braking points into the first chicane, having to take avoiding action, with notable names such as Mark Webber having to take the shortcut through. At the other end of the lap, Massa was one of a number of other drivers to get it wrong into Parabolica, running into the gravel and narrowly avoiding the barriers. But it was a fairly standard lead group in the practice sessions in the end. Button led the first session, Vettel the second, and Hamilton the third, while Ferrari hung around in the lower end of the top 10 at their home track. Much like practice, qualifying also saw no surprises across the 3 sessions. The new teams dropped out in the first part alongside Vitantonio Liuzzi's Force India, who was suffering from technical issues. He was actually out-qualified by Virgin Racing's Timo Glock, but Glock was handed a 5-place grid penalty for a gearbox change, meaning he started at the back. Second session also saw the usual mix of Toro Rossos and Saubers drop out, with Petrov's Renault only making 15th, though he too had a 5-place grid penalty for impeding Timo Glock. The penalties just surrounding the German driver. It was Ferrari who pulled a lap out of the bag when it counted, however. Felipe Massa took third, while Fernando Alonso celebrated his first race for Ferrari at Monza with pole, just ahead of Jenson Button, much to the delight of the Tifosi. Hamilton, the championship leader, could only manage 5th, while Webber took 4th, with Vettel in 6th. Both Williams made the top 10, while Rosberg and Kubica completed that top 10 picture.
Your brakes are too cold. We need to get some heat into them. Brake hard in the next few corners.
Despite taking pole, Alonso found himself behind Jenson Button on the run into turn 1 after the Brit made a great getaway. Alonso clipped the rear of the McLaren, but escaped damage. The other McLaren and Ferrari cars of Hamilton and Massa also came together, but on the run into the next chicane, Hamilton came off much worse, breaking a track rod and had to retire, while Felipe Massa got away unscathed. Webber had dropped to 9th, having to make his way past Schumacher a little bit later on, and then the faltering Sebastian Vettel just a few laps later, while Vettel was experiencing some phantom engine issues. Though those engine issues abated, leaving him free to chase down his teammate, while up at the front, Alonso took the overcut on Jenson Button and took the net race lead through the pit stops, initially behind Felipe Massa, but once the Brazilian pitted himself, he dropped to 3rd. Red Bull decided to leave Sebastian Vettel out till the very last lap after his phantom engine issues, something which paid off for him to take 4th place overall.
Your fastest in this session so far.
It was, however, the Tifosi who was celebrating. Alonso took victory at Monza in his first race there for Ferrari. Massa came home in 3rd, so the team took a double podium, while Jenson Button slotted into 2nd, and the aforementioned Vettel held 4th, ahead of Nico Rosberg, Mark Webber, Nico Hülkenberg, Robert Kubica, Michael Schumacher, and Rubens Barrichello. What should our objective be here in Monza? Well, I thought Spa would prove to be too power dependent for this little Cosworth engine, and I was very wrong. We actually had a fairly decent qualifying and an even better race. And practice here has shown that we can actually keep pace with the mid-pack without going overboard, without pushing too hard. So Q2 is, I'd say, easily attainable. And I honestly think we could top that session. Top 10 might just be a bit too much of a stretch. So let's aim for 11th place and try and use that as a catapult into the top 10 during the race. Here we are then, in the garage for Q1 at Monza. The practice laps we did actually ended up putting us mid-pack, which came as quite the shock. Some of the slower established teams, Williams, Sauber, and then the new teams, some 4 seconds off the pace, and we're only just under 2. So we might be able to have a really good go at this. But let's go out there, see what we can do, and see what our best lap in Q1 gets us. Let's look at our best lap in Q1 then. You might have noticed the debris on the tyres. We've got Kobayashi to the right and Liuzzi's Force India up ahead. We've lost it in Parabolica, so grip a little bit of an issue with turn 1 while also trying to avoid the Sauber on our inside, but fairly neat and tidy through the first chicane. Now we're just trying to stay within touching distance of the Force India, trying to use it for a little bit of drag through the rest of the lap into the Della Roggia chicane, already up and fairly neat and tidy, maybe a little too overcautious on exit so we didn't drop it into the gravel. Through the Lesmos, this appeared to be where we had the pace on the AI, got a little spooked by the Force India I think, and took a second bite at the cherry into Lesmo 1, and again, a little late on the power into Lesmo 2, once again being spooked by that Force India that starts to pull away heading down into Ascari. Chicane we'd had a lot of problems with through practice and through this session later as well. Actually fairly neat for us through there, not too bad. Didn't carry as much speed as I'd hoped and nearly went wide into the gravel on exit, but keeping the car pointing in the right direction, vital. Using the drag and the tow from Liuzzi, and now there's another car there as well, so we're getting a bit of double drag. Trying to keep nice and tight through Parabolica to avoid any issues in the gravel this time, and then across the line for our best lap.
Great job. We're through to qualifying 2.
So into Q2 we go, 2.1 seconds off pole man after the first session. Couple of minor incidents during Q1, one of which may have wiped out Vitantonio Liuzzi. May have clipped some grass, gone for a spin, and he may have collected me on his way through. But he makes it through, along with Kobayashi, Della Rosa, Bohemian, Alguersuari. De Grassi so close to making it through there. He's out with Kovalainen and Barrichello. Trulli, Chandok, Senna and Hulkenberg. Whereas at the top end, Vettel, Alonso, Hamilton, Webber, Button, Massa. Then Schumacher, Rosberg, Kubica, Petrov and Sutil. I think there was a bit more time on the table. Would there be enough to get me ahead of Petrov and into the top 10? Possibly. Let's see what Q2 has to offer. In the garage in Q2 then, already outstripping the team's expectations. They wanted me to finish 20th. We're into Q2, that means we're above that already, and I think there was some time on the table, a couple of tenths maybe. Is it going to be enough to get us into Q3? It's going to be touch and go. If we do make it, I feel like that's probably 10th is probably about as far as we go. But let's get out there, see what our fastest lap in Q2 does for us. Time for our best lap in Q2, and as you can see, we're into the last 30 seconds of this session. Not had a good time of it in this session, lots of going off, lots of crashing. So this is a do or die, one and done lap. And we kind of slowed ourselves up across the start-finish line, getting a little bit too close to the start-finish straight, kind of an auto slow that this game sometimes has. But the time has ticked away. We've been fairly neat through the first chicane, which is actually quite helpful, through the Curva Grande and into the Della Roggia. Actually down on our best first sector time at this point. But again, fairly tidy through Della Roggia. We've got nobody to try and help us along in this session. So we're having to do this all on our own. Quite wide through Lesmo 1, had to scrub off a little bit of speed. A bit too early in Lesmo 2, and again a bit wide on exit as well, scrubbing off a little bit more time as we head up towards Ascari. It's really just a case of pinning the throttle at this point in our lap. As we get into Ascari, we're actually still behind, but we take Ascari, maybe take a little bit too much on entry. But the final sectors where we've been losing it throughout each lap so far, you can see we're up on the cars immediately in front of us as we're going into this section. And as we round the final corner at Parabolica, as soon as we hit the line, the lap ends and we go straight into the results, but we cross the line, not quite through.
Oh, bad luck, mate. We're just inside the drop zone. 11th place.
Well, one final lap at the end of the session puts us in P11. We are top of the guys to go out in Q2. Could not hook up a lap in that session. Span a lot, crashed a lot. I just really didn't get any rhythm going. But we would have missed out by quite some distance anyway. I don't think there was a huge amount more time left on the table. We go out with Sutil, Liuzzi, Kobayashi, Boemi, Alguersuari and Della Rosa. But it does mean that we're starting right on the edge of the top 10 as the usual suspects are up there. Webber, Vettel, Alonso, Button, Hamilton, Massa, Rosberg, Schumacher, Kubica and Petrov. Well, that wasn't too bad a qualifying session in the end. Much better than I expected. Hopefully the race will also deliver. Here we are then in the garage in Monza for the Italian Grand Prix of 2010, and we're starting P11. There's a 7% chance of rain as well, but this is a really solid qualifying position for us. Didn't expect us to be anywhere near the top 10, just because we're not blessed with pace. This is not a car that's built for speed. It should be, but it isn't. Let's take a look at the grid order for you then. Webber leads the way with Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, Button, Massa, Rosberg, our rival in 7th, Kubica, Schumacher, Petrov just in front of us. Then there we are, 11th place, with Sutil, Kobayashi, Boemi, Alguersuari and Della Rosa behind us. Liuzzi was in that pack, but he's had a grid penalty, possibly for driving into me during qualifying, after I lost the rear end and he collected me, which means Degrassi is 17th, season best for the other Virgin Racing car, Liuzzi there in 18th. Then it's Kovalainen, Barrichello, Trulli, Chandok, Senna and Nico Hulkenberg in the Williams bringing up the rear. That 7% chance of rain may prove to be a bit of a dud. We may not get any. We may get a little bit of drizzle. It may absolutely hammer it down for one lap and we just have to skate around this fast, iconic Temple of Speed. But 11th is a really solid platform. I just worry that this car is lacking in straight line speed, which means that I'm going to be a bit of a sitting duck to those around me. Which means that my race objective is not the points. I'd love it to be. I really would, and we might be able to make up some positions going into the chicane at the start of the first lap. But I worry that we're going to go backwards. So my aim is going to be 13th place, somewhere in the middle, and hopefully we can gain positions and hold some people up. But I fear it's going to be very difficult in this car to keep people behind at Monza. There may not be DRS, but we're very down on power. But enough talking. Let's go to the grid for the Italian Grand Prix. Webber, Alonso, the front row. There's Rosberg, our rival in 7th. There we are, P11. Good result for us. And then Degrassi down in 17th, but a best quali for him.
The boss wants another points finish out of you this weekend. Give it your best shot.
Looking for another points finish, as am I. Away we go in Italy, now Petrov cuts across. We're also going to cut across, but Sutil, too quick for us. Kobayashi's going to go as well. We're just not fast enough in a straight line. But we might be able to gain some places back on the brakes. A little bit of wheel banging. Kubica loses it in front of us, takes Rosberg with him. And there's a car park at turn 1. But we get through it with P8. Great start, exactly what we needed. And Buemi's the man behind us as well. Cold tyres. Alright, yeah, fine. Warning for that. That's not a problem. I tried to brake on cold tyres and I wasn't stopping. You know what? Those guys not exactly getting away from us here. They will in a minute though as we hit the start-finish straight, although there's a gaggle of cars there. I can see a Ferrari and a McLaren.
If you need more grip in the corners, don't forget that you can set the wing in the up position to increase downforce.
Buemi. Oh no. That was an unsafe rejoin and Sebastian Buemi's out. We stay ahead of Della Rosa, who's now the cork in the bottle behind us. Ascari's been a bit of a problem all the way through every session. But I've sent Buemi out of this race. It wasn't intentional, that's for sure. Just wanted to try and make sure I didn't lose too much ground as I get that all wrong straight across the chicane at the start as well. Just a lack of grip. Even the Sauber's faster than we are.
Brakes and tyres are at optimum.
And there we go, finally through a corner properly. It's been a really scruffy first lap in a bit. Rosberg, the lesser of three evils when it came to rivals. It was either him, Massa or Button, all of whom were way ahead of me in the championship, so we're not beating them. Not overall anyway, as Della Rosa will once again close up. Run wide, nearly lose it. Managed to get on the brakes early enough to save it. Della Rosa can't get by. Yeah, I could feel the car going then. Scruffy at the moment. Better through Ascari, that's good. That is good. And we can actually pull away through Ascari. That's better to know as well. On the grass at Parabolica though. Would help if I got that right. We're starting to stretch a gap on Della Rosa. Looks like that scruffy lap or two has probably cost us better positions, because we were closing on that little pack of McLaren, a Ferrari, Adrian Sutil's Force India. But we're now holding our own in P8, which is good. Hopefully we're not going to lose out too big in the pit stops, because that's kind of been our Achilles heel in the last few races.
The next 5 laps. Alonso's in first place.
Alonso takes the lead. It looks like we've got cars in the pits, Webber being one of them. Sutil as well, maybe. There's Adrian Sutil. Mark Webber just rejoining ahead of us. So far we'd fallen off the leaders, but with the Red Bull, actually, I'm going to give him a go into this corner. They're wheel banging, but the Red Bull holds his own. We're up to 7th. Sutil should jump us back through the pits though. Della Rosa has somebody right behind him. Webber Scarpers. A little wheel in the gravel. And the Sauber's going to catch right back up to us.
Open. Come in this lap.
Looks like Della Rosa hasn't gone in. Schumacher and Liuzzi's still right behind him, so Until somewhere in that clutch of cars you can see on the mini-map. There it is, pit stop o'clock for us.
Remember the limiter line, the limiter line.
All of the teams coming out.
Brake for the pit box. Go now.
We're not jumped by anybody, so that's good.
Don't forget to turn the limiter off.
Down to 16th. Could very much depend now on what other people in front of us are doing. Getting these tyres fired up and not making any mistakes. Schumacher's jumped Della Rosa behind us, I think. I don't think Della Rosa came in. Or did he? I don't know. We've got the German behind us. We're all about who's in the pits this lap. Hopefully most of the guys in front of us. Rosberg's in. Degrassi's in. Up to P12. Barrichello hasn't gone in.
Lucas is pitting now. He's in the pits.
A bit wide out the second, Lasman. It's going to cost us time.
Your brakes are at optimal temperature. Brakes at optimal temperature.
We're going to be hounded by Schumacher now all the way through here. There's a bit of time as well. To the inside. Schumacher's going to go to the extreme inside here, but we'll break him into the first couple of corners. Nearly go too wide. Hold the position for now, though. This is all costing us time. We've got cars in.
Hulkenberg is in the pits.
Hulkenberg.
In the pits.
And somebody else. Not sure who, but whoever it is, we're back into the top 10, and Barrichello's still the man in front of us. We might still be able to at least recover to P9. And recover, because we were running up an 8th. Desperately wanting to get by. He does have the pace on me for large sections of this track. Able to just build a little gap there, which kind of sustains us for the rest of the lap.
Alonso's leading the race.
Alonso still leading. They're running long. It's just managed to overcut everybody. No. Oh!
You've lost your front wing. If you can nurse the car back to the pits, we'll fit a
I've been there. I
replacement.
think Schumacher. Yeah, Schumacher's hit me, I think.
Limiter on. Limiter on. Brake for the pit box.
Oh, that's ruined the race. We're on for such a good result.
Exit. Exit now. Limiter off. Limiter off.
Somehow not last. That's all those guys have DNF'd. That is so easily done in this game. I don't even think we're going to close up to enough to Senna or the guys up in front to try and, I don't know, at least make the team's objective of 18th, but we're certainly not going to make ours unless there's some issues up ahead.
Someone's gone off. We've waved yellows in Sector 2.
Well, Bruno Senna gifting me 19th, so that's good. Grassi up ahead as well. Very often I've been outraced by Lucas Di Grassi, and this could be one of those times.
The engine is in the optimal temperature zone. Your car should be at peak performance.
If you're 15 episodes in and don't know why I haven't just done a flashback or... Oh, why did we go in Lesmo? Probably cost me an opportunity to catch up to Di Grassi. And Senna goes past us as well.
Okay, we've lost the position. Keep on his tail, trying to take it back.
Nearly lose it again. Well, this has gone... Oh no, we're not. Oh no, it's the leader. Right, I'm now stuck.
Immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
There we go. So I've been lapped. That did not go very well. Pushing too hard to try and catch Di Grassi because, honestly, probably have the pace to, or had the pace to. It'll be too late in the day now, but we don't retire, we finish the race. Regardless of how terribly it's gone. Maybe wondering why we're not just restarting, why we're not just using a flashback. If you've missed the first 14 episodes, you'll know we don't do that here. There were no flashbacks, there were no restarts. Just get on with it. Frustrating thing as well, though. Such a good start. Off and let Hamilton go by. Lewis, mate, come on. Go round me. 21st to 24th are all out of this one. There's no split time to them.
Showing waved yellows in Sector 2. No overtaking, and watch out for debris on the track.
Somebody's off. Very off. It's a Red Bull. Couldn't see which one it was. They'll get going again, or whether they'll be out. We'll find out as we go round again. We're a lap down, so this race will finish a little earlier for us.
There's a group of slower cars just ahead of you. Be aware.
There's some carnage going on in this race. We've got somebody in the pits. Not somebody we can pass. We've unwrapped ourselves from someone. I'd assume relating to that Red Bull off-road incident. Group of slower cars, I guess, were stuck behind whoever went into the pits. They're still 19th, so that Red Bull must have got going again. I'd very much like to believe that the mistakes will lessen as we go through the years, as the handling model and curves get a little less lethal, but I can't guarantee that.
To let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Well, I think we're about to find out which Red Bull it was. It was Mark Webber. He got jumped in all the pit stops and then found himself off the road at one point.
just put
Fastest
up
lap
a
of
new
the race,
fastest
he's got
lap.
option tyres on. Well, that will have been him in the pits then. I think as well earlier in the race we were fighting Webber for position.
You're approaching some traffic on track ahead. Stay alert.
Approaching some traffic and then put it in the gravel.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind
That also,
through.
Webber's
You're
still
not
gaining on his
racing him.
teammate in the championship, so that's good news for him. Degrassi back where he started. Well, I thought this is where we'd be anyway in this race, kind of cut adrift at the back on our own for pace, but more disappointing that we were actually comfortably and on merit in the points. We were closing on the cars in front. And definitely would have jumped a couple of them who still yet to pit. Barrichello, for example, maybe made it back up to say 9th, 8th at a push. Mistakes have crept back in. We've taken a few people out along the way as well. Maybe being a bit of a chaos goblin. Well, we rang the Parabolica to start what is our final line for this race, because we are a lap down, and missed opportunity, I think, is the only way to describe this one. Managed to gain some positions at the start through carnage at turn 1. Kubica getting wide and spinning just here, taking Nico Rosberg with him. Us managing to squeeze through the gap, move our way into 8th. We held off Nico Rosberg. Not Nico Rosberg, we held off Pedro Della Rosa for long periods. We actually had an opportunity at maybe even getting into the top 5, but broke too late into Ascari. Took out Sebastian Buemi, who just found us returning to the circuit. Through the pit stop cycle, back into the points as Fernando Alonso wins for Ferrari here in Italy. We got ourselves back into the points. We were ahead of Michael Schumacher. Barrichello was in front of us, yet to pit. We got it wrong into the Parabolica. We took Schumacher with us. Damage, fell to the back. Managed to get back past Bruno Senna, who spun, but then we've spun a few times since, and it's been a fairly lonely trundle to the end of this Grand Prix. The mistakes have cost us. There's an opportunity lost for points at Monza. We crossed the line in 20th.
We're at the wrong end of the field, but at least we managed to complete the race. Well done.
Correct, at least we did manage to finish, because Buemi, Schumacher, Della Rosa and Kobayashi did not. I fear that 3, if not all 4 of those are because of me. Bruno Senna, the only other person to be lapped. Degrassi there. Started 17th, finished 17th. Good move for him. Chandok in 18th. Heikki Kovalainen, though, nets a point for Lotus. That puts HRT at the bottom of the pile. He finishes 10th. You can see there we've got Chandok in 18th, Liuzzi, Trulli, Hulkenberg, Rosberg, Barrichello and Kubica out the points as well, but Kovalainen with a point for Lotus. Petrov in 9th, Sutil 8th, Alguersuari 7th, Vettel 6th, Webber 5th, Hamilton 4th, and then it's Alonso, Button, Massa, your top 3. So 2 Ferraris on the podium and a McLaren in between, but the big news that Heikki Kovalainen takes points for Lotus. What does that do to the championships? Well, we remain 9th, still 6 points behind Michael Schumacher, who didn't finish, and Kubica also finished 8 points. So that's good news for us, but that means that let's go to the bottom first. 20 drivers have now scored points. Kovalainen jumps ahead of Pedro Della Rosa. Chandok, Senna, Trulli and De Grassi now the only drivers with 8 points. Whereas at the other end, Webber still leads Vettel. Hamilton still third, Alonso still fourth, and it's Massa, Button, Rosberg, Schumacher. In the Constructors, we stay ahead of Renault on countback, but we're level on points. The Constructors title still done, Red Bull still long and away. 169 points ahead of Ferrari. McLaren a little bit further back. Mercedes on their own in fourth still. Force India still ahead of Toro Rosso, Williams, Sauber, and then Lotus. HRT, the only team with 8 points so far this season. And well, that is a disappointing result. That's going to be difficult to take. Here in Italy, I'd say we were fairly guaranteed points as long as I didn't mess up. And that's unfortunately exactly what I did. Took some people with us. But Rosberg also didn't score points. But as I say, I will keep repeating it. Lotus take their first point of the season to move into 11th, ahead of HRT. 4 drivers with 8 points, 1 constructor with 8 points. We're still going to beat them. I can't imagine that Lotus or HRT are going to score 54 or 53 more points to level up. But Lotus are on the board. Don't really know what else to say about Monza. Mistakes cost us. It's certainly something I really need to cut out, but we're getting closer to the end of the season. It's round 15 next, which I do believe is a circuit that's going to be incredibly difficult for us, judging by how we've done at places like Monaco. The next Grand Prix is Marina Bay, Singapore, for the Singapore Grand Prix. And I'm pretty sure as well in 2010, it's still with the Singapore sling. So we may struggle. But that was Italy. The points were very much in my grasp. I just didn't take advantage of it. And that has unfortunately cost us. We're going to have to dust ourselves off, go again, and hope that we can survive Singapore next up and try and remove some of these mistakes before we head into 2011, because we're getting quite close. But thank you so much for joining me. Not the best result, but we'll come back stronger hopefully before this season ends. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.